Hello, everyone. This is Eric Roach at Summit Metals. Thank you so much for joining us. And boy, do we have a treat today. I am super excited to welcome to the channel Two is One. Now, here's the backstory on this that probably he does not even know. But when I first decided that having physical metals was an important part of maintaining and, if you will, balancing my portfolio, the very first video I ever saw was from Two is One. So you have a very, very special place in my heart and in my finances. And I thank you very much, not only for joining us, but for the impact you've had, not just with us as a business, with all of your subscribers and around the world, and of course, just in general, educating the market. We're so excited to be with you today.
Boy, well, thank you. I hope you didn't oversell me, Eric, and I don't know if I can live up to that intro,
Oh, you for
but
sure can. A little behind the scenes, not only has Two is One been an important place for people to connect with Summit Metals, but he's also been someone who hasn't been shy about giving us advice when we need it, helping us to even, do things with our website and different things, and we pass ideas by him. So we're so very, very grateful and really excited to jump in.
I appreciate it.
All right. So I know you have a huge following. People always ask, why did you choose one particular, YouTube channel or influences over another? And I'm going to tell you the reason that I was super excited to be able to work with you is because you have always been entirely focused on providing original, highly educational content without without the fluff, without the gold to 60,000 tomorrow or silver's blowing, all that kind of
All
clickbait
right.
stuff out there. Tell me a little bit about kind of your mindset when you sit down to create one of these amazing videos. What are you thinking about as you begin that process?
Yeah, well, you get to a point where you're constantly watching the market and to a certain extent you're watching what people are saying about the market, and it becomes a case where it's a community like everybody says. And in that community, you can kind of feel certain gravitational pulls. There's certain topics, there's certain ideas or feelings, and I try to stick with that today. Where maybe originally, I I don't know if it was that I was less involved or less in touch with that gravitational pull, or it was that I was trying to go against it. I think it was probably more that I was trying to go against it early on. Now, really what I try to do is get a sense of what's interesting to people and give a take on it that's maybe a an original take on it, where it might be like, I'm practical. I look at everything in practical terms. I don't think that I was going to say silver. I'll just say silver for a minute. I don't think silver all of a sudden is going to go to $500 like some people say. I understand that the game that's being played. I know why that is a really compelling story. I know why people click on that. I know the revenue side of that. Like, if you tell that story, it's a profitable story to be told and people are excited about it. I try to look at things like, I don't want to sell an idea that's going to let somebody down, and there's only so much I can do. So I guess to the question, what I'm looking at is all things considered, what's interesting right now. An audit of Fort Knox is super interesting right
Yes,
now.
yes.
That doesn't mean that all of the crazy ideas that could come out of it are likely. There are possibilities. So I'll entertain the possibilities. I'll look at the topic. I'll try to make sure that I'm on to what's interesting, but I try to take it from a perspective like, what's really going to come out of this. And in some cases, nothing's going to come out of it. So I'll try to say that this is a possibility that's unlikely. Or, if it were to happen, this is what might actually come out of it, rather than it being a case of more, let's see, well, we all know what the hyperbole looks like. We're going to go back to a gold standard, dogs and cats living together, kind of a like end of end times. And what's really probably going to come out of something like that is gold is going to be more in focus. It's going to be in the news. There are going to be more people looking at it. There are going to be more people thinking about fiscal responsibility and keeping our reserve assets safe. Those are the kinds of things that are interesting, where that topic, I know that I could come into that topic a certain way and get the crowd going and get people riled up and get those hundreds of thousands of clicks. And quite honestly, I've been not approaching the recent spike in interest that way. I probably have done it wrong, Eric, where I could have come into this and really spiked the views of the channel over the last month. But I didn't, because I was trying to look at all of these things, like what's really going to happen to you and I, as people who are interested in gold. And the reality is that it's just, we're all going to be more interested, but it's probably our lives aren't going to change.
Well, here's the thing. I think you're dead on accurate in the way you chose to do that. When you chase the clickbait, you're hot for a minute, you're the flash in the pan. But people pretty quickly realize that this isn't a channel I should follow or ascribe to. It's fluff. And I think that's one of the reasons people love your channel. I truly, truly believe that. Now, I want to get some meat off the bone. So let's dig in a little bit if you're ready. And I've got some questions for you and really like to understand you and really share with this community and yours, the man behind the videos, if that's okay. So
yeah, let's do it.
All right. So recently you came out with a video, the gold I'm buying today. You kind of discuss your current acquisition approach. Could you just give us some idea? What are the things you look for that influence your purchase decision?
Yeah. Okay. So two angles here. One is price consideration and another is what I'm buying. So there's what you're buying, where you're buying it, how you're buying it. I think the most important is why. So really, I think that the channel has come up through that idea of, let's have a backup. And that's what 2 is 1 means. It's just you have a backup plan. So 2 is 1, 1 is none. If you only have one plan and that plan goes wrong, you have 0 plans. So the idea of having that backup is really what kind of motivates my gold buying. So the current market conditions don't change a whole lot. The big idea of buying gold is the same. Why I'm buying it is to have a backup. If there's a possible emergency need that I might need to access that backup, I want to make sure that I have what's easiest to liquidate. It doesn't mean that I'm out to liquidate my gold. It just means that if I need to, I'm able to quickly. I don't have a hassle that's unexpected if I need to go out and do it. Or, God forbid, I get hit by a bus and my family needs to go out. I don't want them to have one more thing to worry about. So angle 1 on price, I slow down when prices are really high. If I think there's going to be a big pullback or correction, or I hit a goal. Otherwise, I'm just at it. I buy more or less the same every month. Channels change things a little bit. There's revenue coming in from the channel. There are really only 3 things I do with that revenue. One of them is buying gold. Maybe we can get into that later. But the idea for me is I'm always buying because I'm always saving. Saving isn't what you have, it's what you do. So I'm always saving. That means I'm always buying some gold. The idea of what I'm buying and wanting to make sure that it's the easiest to sell, that's why I talk about buying Eagles, American Gold Eagles, when a lot of people probably don't. Gold Buffaloes really did the same thing at this point. But historically, and when I say historically, I mean over the last 4 years specifically, the premiums on them have been high. So you're looking at paying a little bit more for an American Gold Buffalo than you would for a Perth Mint Kangaroo.
Yes.
So which is better, the cheaper gold or even down a level, any gold? So, you get a gold bar that's been pulled from the assay, or old European gold, which always gets me in comment fights when I mention that. The idea for me is that I want to be able to have a stack of relatively uniform high demand gold. So Eagles and Buffaloes, Maple Leafs, especially recently, Maple Leafs have become even a better option in my mind. So if I go to sell and there are a bunch of people rushing the local coin shops or the online dealers like you, and we have all of these things. Well, if I have the most in demand gold, I'm kind of at the front of the line. So that's the idea.
And it's going to drive price up, right? But I'm with you. I think liquidity is key, right? I mean, you can buy all these incredibly numismatic, like super fun, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's not something you really build like a core portfolio or savings plan against, in my opinion. So let me ask, though, you also created a video not so far back about the problem with everyone buying gold, right? You kind of address the issues of like increased gold buying. How do you think the trend in the market and kind of individual strategies, whether it's people choosing to dollar cost average or waiting for drops, things like this, how do you think that affects the market and what people should be doing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So probably would have answered that by saying, so if there are a lot of people buying gold and more so effectively turning the market into a buyer's market, a seller's market,
yeah,
then you want to have, the most popular. If we're looking at a case where, how does that change things? I was going to say, I probably would really answer that the way that I did. I don't see that it changes things a whole lot because, personally, if I had my way, I would buy when the price of gold is on its way down, which is the opposite of what human behavior tells you to do. Most people buy on the way up because it's exciting. You see that it's growing. Everybody's rushing in. It's crowd mentality. That idea, the wisdom of crowds, is, I think, probably what gets people into trouble, particularly if you're really tuned into the hype channels, because you see the price going up, you see the people telling you the end is near and you need to get in or you're going to get left behind. What I would say is when we're in this kind of period like we're in right now, more and more people are interested in gold. It's a great time to get in. I don't know that changes your speed of buying, your acquisition speed, because there are a lot of reasons to buy gold and, some kind of hype. Elon Musk with the chainsaw at, Fort Knox, that shouldn't be driving you to buy more gold. So I would say that it's just a matter of, getting a plan, figuring out, what's the goal of doing it and just sticking to it. Yeah, otherwise, the things that we've already said, keep liquidity in mind.
Yeah. What's interesting, just from our own business, I can tell you, there's clearly FOMO, right? When people start seeing things going up, our volume picks up. When it starts dropping, I think the mindset is, it's going to drop further, so I'm not going to buy. And then, of course, it whipsaws the other direction, and they end up buying for more than what they probably would have bought if they'd just stayed more consistent and not try to be so time, oriented toward their purchases. But
and this, I don't think that's bad. I would say that when you get to a point where you've been stacking, I've been stacking now for 17 years, you are at a point where you have a fair amount for those backup emergency needs that you might have. That changes the way that, it changes your motivations. If I had no gold and I was seeing, some of the things that were happening right now, I might have a little bit of FOMO myself. I might have a faster pace because it's not all about acquisition cost. Sometimes it's just, you need to hurry up, to get things in order. So I get it. I would just say in an ideal case, you're buying when price is, you're always buying, but maybe you're increasing your pace when you have a little bit of, it's just like when you're running, you run a little faster when you're going downhill. It's the idea of buying for me too.
Yeah, I agree. You see what's going on in the world right now, right? Certainly with Zelensky and all the different things happening. I mean, clearly gold has a place, we view it as a safe haven asset. We know it's a tier one asset, right? I mean, do you think these developments are going to cause, you kind of alluded to it, but do you think it's going to cause many, many more people to start to discover investing in gold?
That's a really good question. I don't know if it's because I'm paying more attention to gold, because clearly I am since starting the channel, and maybe asking more about it, but clearly more people are becoming interested. There are more people who have been doing it for shorter periods of time, who get it now, you know, practical purpose behind buying it. And it didn't just start with the 28% annual gain in 2024. Gold was on a tear, still
Right.
is.
Yeah.
Uh, it was more like I started the channel, in March of 2020? Maybe it was February. It was prior to the lockdown. There were a lot of the reasons that just made sense. Now, I was already buying gold. I thought more people are going to be interested in this. And so, that's kind of where that came from. I don't know
Well, you clearly
that
proven right. 100%, for sure. So,
yeah, well, and I came in a weird time. I feel like we're off track from your question. So, Eric, if I get off on a weird
no,
path,
no, you're good. No,
you just
I,
reel me
I,
back in.
I prefer this. Let me shift just a little bit.
Sure.
'Cause, on this subject of new people coming into the market, and I know you've done some videos on this. If you were to start today, and we haven't really talked about silver, and I know you tend to focus heavily on gold. Do you see silver? If you were starting today, would you buy silver at all, or would you still stick to a gold strategy? Would you seek a blend? Like, what would you do if you were just starting today?
So there are a few factors. If I had less discretionary income, I would be more interested in silver for a few reasons. And also, we need to say that the premiums on silver have come down dramatically over the last 8 months.
Mhm.
That has changed things for me significantly. I was buying silver for a lot of years. When I started the channel in 2020, I noticed that the premium on silver spiked at an irrational level. So it went up way up
Right.
to the point where it made more sense to buy a quarter ounce American Gold Eagle than to buy 10-ounce generic silver bars. That's how crazy the premiums had gotten. So you have a super premium gold coin and you have a low premium silver bar, and they were effectively the same in terms of premium. And if you were to look at an American Silver Eagle, which would be on par with an American Gold Eagle, you were looking at a 6% premium on an American Gold Eagle, talking 1 ounce, and 25 to 50% premium on an American Silver Eagle. It just didn't make sense. So fast forward to today, it's a different case. I think that we're in a situation where if silver ever looked good, it looks good right now. We're in that bull case for silver. And one big reason for that is that all of the other commodities have outpaced silver. So it has catching up to do. Doesn't mean it has to, but it just doesn't make sense at its current price. So we have that in play, and we have all the things, the premiums coming down so the retail demand can go up. It has a lot working for it. So I would probably buy some silver. I also like silver as a gap. So as gold gets higher, you might be thinking about fractional coins. Maybe you're buying a quarter ounce of gold where previously you were buying something else, and it creates a gap on your spending budget potentially.
Yeah.
Silver is easy to use as a fill. What I don't like about silver is the premium, and I would look at what's the better buy from a premium perspective and a liquidity perspective. One thing that I don't want to do is create a plan that doesn't scale. I don't want to have random silver bars that I'm just putting in a closet somewhere, and the logistics on silver are far different than gold. So I think I said if I had less discretionary income, I would do that. Well, you get to a point where if you're really into the idea of buying metals, gold to me just makes more sense logistically. It takes up less space, has lower premiums, it's easier to liquidate, it's a tier one asset. The reasons just go on and on. As long as you look past the hype that's kind of in the space. All the people telling you that the metals are going to the moon, realistically, it's heavily focused on what they think silver is going to do. So I would include silver. I don't mean to talk it down. I think that silver makes for a bad, so silver itself makes for, I guess it feels like a trade, and the physical silver feels like a bad trade. So I would want it to be something that I meant to hold rather than I'm just looking for a big spike. If you think about the biggest spikes that stand out, you look at 1980 and 81, you look at 2011, huge spikes followed by huge crashes.
Right. Does it matter to you whether it's, say, a sovereign or a round or a bar, just a generic bar? Do you care, or are you just strictly focused on the premium aspect? And I presume you're probably balancing that against the liquidity argument as well.
I pay enough attention to other people in the space, and I know what their recommendations are, and mine are about the opposite. To me, an American Silver Eagle should have a large premium. And I say that as somebody who's sold large amounts of silver. I've got two cases that I like. I like the American Silver Eagle, and I like 10-ounce generic silver bars. And they really are on different sides of the scale, really. Yeah. But they're both in demand. Both of them become products that are easy to sell and people want. People understand the value. I don't have to explain that this is constitutional silver. It has, X percent, and a dime is worth this. I still can't even tell you what a dime is worth, what a mercury dime is worth. So try to explain that to somebody else. You have to find somebody who's looking for that. A 10-ounce silver bar with no crazy premium because of who minted it, that's easy. I like sunshine bars. There are a lot of good 10-ounce bars. Scottsdale has some really good options. So there are a lot of good options there that I would call generic. Scottsdale's not a generic mint, but their products fall into that category. Sure. And then American Silver Eagles, I'll tell you what, when those silver squeezes came out, it was really easy to sell American Silver Eagles at huge premium, and I did it.
Let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about one of the things that's really unique also about your channel is the amount of community involvement. When you put out a video, you get tons of comments. I often see you're responding to things. You also have a Discord channel. I guess two-part. Have you thought about going the Patreon route at all? And then also on your channels, do you find that you're more than just, being responsive, but do you find that you're actually learning from the community, that it's kind of a two-way street, or how do you see that?
On the Patreon thing, I do have a membership out there, and I probably don't do a great job. I have all these ideas that I don't always have the time to implement. You're focusing on always creating the next few videos. It takes over your brain. The comment section, that's really the most important part to me. I spend a lot of time there. Where it used to be, at night I might have some free time. It's all devoted to the comment section, and it definitely influences upcoming content. I like to understand where people are coming from, the people who are watching the videos, and you get to know the people who comment over and over very quickly. It's surprising because there might be thousands of people who are commenting, and you start to recognize them. It definitely changes the way the content comes out, and just generally your whole perspective. There are some people who are very, very articulate in the comment section. There are some people who are clearly big players, whales, that are notable, and you need to pay attention to that. And there are people who are just, like me, everyday people who it's just kind of good to get a pulse on. Early on, the comments a lot of times are, oh, you're going to be so sorry. Like, I sold silver, I bought Bitcoin. Even mentioning that here is probably not popular, but there are moves like that you'll get really heckled for. And there are a few of those guns that I just stuck to. And I'm not out to, I don't want anybody doing what I'm doing. It's a great way to lose all your money, but I'll try to tell you, why it is I'm doing the things that I'm doing.